It was.
All right, well, our next guest is an award-winning actress and New York Times best-selling author whose latest book, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, continues to inspire women everywhere. Please welcome back to the show, Marlo Thomas. Welcome. Good to see you again, Marlo.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It ain't over.
Yes. Until
Amazing.
it ain't over.
Till
Till it's over. And you know what? That's what I love this book cover. The way it was designed.
It's
front
so
and
funny,
back.
isn't it?
Marlo,
Yeah.
it has been ever over for you.
Thank
and
you.
it's just amazing how, I don't know if it's correct to say you've reinvented yourself because you've always found the next thing to invest yourself in.
Yeah.
But this is really about this whole reinvention.
Well, you know, I travel around the country a lot raising money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And
Which your father started,
Thank
of
you.
course.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
And wherever I go, I always have a lot of women in the audience like you. Look at you all, how pretty you are.
This is a great audience.
Good color.
And a lot of women are stuck, and they're stuck for all different kinds of reasons. They got laid off from their job, they got a divorce, they had a dream, a great dream of raising a family, but that dream's kind of worn out on them because their daughter's got a driver's license and their son just went off to college, and they're standing in their house at 43 years old and saying, so what do I do with the next 40 years of my life? So I thought, I want to really understand this. So I started interviewing women and put them on my website, marlothomas.com, and I realized that you can pick up a new dream. You can start over, but it takes some guts, and it also takes some steps. So what I realized, what I learned from reading, talking to all these women, it's okay to have a big dream, but you got to do it one step at a time.
Right.
Oh,
You got to work small. Big dream, but work small, and do it with somebody else. You know, partner with your best friend or your sister or your mom or someone, and go after it. You know, I have a saying over my computer that Ruth Gordon once said a million years ago. She said, never face the facts so you won't get out of bed in the morning. And I think it's really important because everybody's telling us that we're the wrong age, we're the wrong color, we're the wrong height, we're the wrong something. But you really have to just say, oh, the hell with all that. You know, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it.
Right, and you interview, absolutely. You profile 60 amazing women with amazing stories and ambitions. How did you find these women?
On Facebook.
Really?
On my Facebook page, I'm on AOL and Huffington Post. We went out that way as well, and we got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of submissions. And I also kind of nudged it. I said, you know, write me and let me know if you had an unfaithful husband. Oh my God, there's so many unfaithful husbands. But we only put one in because you only need one unfaithful husband, and that kind of gives you the story. So we did that, and then we have women who started over. One woman really was laid off, had not a cent, and gave up her apartment, lives on her friend's sofas, and sold all her clothes on eBay. And another thing that I think is interesting is that there are many women who did everything right. You know, they supplied the family income, or they're a single mom, they raised their kids. In the back of their mind, there was something they really wanted to do, but they needed to make money and they couldn't do that. And now's the time in their life where they say, okay, it's my turn, and I'm gonna take that shot. One woman was 38 years old. She was a graphic artist. She wanted to go into med school, but her father said to her, well, you know, you can always marry a doctor, don't you love it? So anyway, exactly. And so then she became a graphic artist, and she's very good at it. And one day she was working on a medical brochure, doing the artist for that. And she said to a friend, you know, this really hurts. I always wanted to be a doctor. And she said, and her friend said, well, you could still do that. And she said, are you kidding? I'm 38 years old. By the time I become a doctor, I'll be 50. And her friend said, you're going to be 50 anyway.
Yeah.
So she was like,
Right.
Well, and I love it because if you don't have a friend telling you that, this book tells you that.
Yeah. It's kind of like a map. If you read all of them, all 60 of them, you start to see, oh, I can take a little bit from that and a little bit from that. But the most important thing, because I know it's hard to start over, just to think of it this way: if you do something every single day toward your dream, because if one day maybe you just make a call to somebody you know that could kind of help you move along, or take a class and learn a new skill set, or become an intern at some company.
Right. Right, or have your own show online, which you're doing. How did this come about? You're interviewing some great people, some big celebrities and some big names.
I just love it because Dr. Oz and Susie Orman. When I travel around the country, everything I do, I hear from other women, I must tell you. There's Dr. Oz, and John Hamm is so cute. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and what's the premise of the show?
It's to give information. In other words, it's every Monday for half an hour, and the questions come from the Facebook page. So they're not my questions. They're real women who want to know how else could a real woman ask a question of Susie Orman about her finances, or of Dr. Oz about her diabetes, or Laura Berman about her sex life, you know. And I love it because it's so completely anonymous. So women will write in under the name of Minnie Mouse, you know, and she'll say, "Dear Dr. Berman, my husband and I have been married 20 years, and I want to spice up our sex life. So, what sex toy could I bring into the bedroom without scaring the hell out of it?" And then she signs it, "Love Minnie," you know.
Yes.
So nobody knows that it was her.
And these are all things they can learn at Mondays with Marlo. Now, we want you all to stick around because Marlo's not going anywhere. Next up, we're going to get her take on Hillary's potential run for president.
Oh, my.
We're back with Marlo Thomas. Now, during the break, Marlo, I saw you talking to our supervising producer, Cindy Petrasso.
Yes.
And Cindy and our executive producer, Marlene Seelip, actually worked for your husband, Phil Donahue, for many years.
They were there the day Phil and I met on their show.
That's right. And Cindy said she actually saw the sparks.
Yes.
She saw it.
Yes, she did.
We got the readout this morning because you've been married for 34 years.
That's
to
right.
Phil, right?
34 years.
That is, but you're no stranger to seeing that. Your parents were married 55?
Yeah.
Just any secrets that you can share with us?
Yes, listen to each other.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
My biggest
that's
secret.
Good.
Really.
Well, we're listening a lot to you and what you have to say with Mondays with Marlo and with the book, It Ain't Over Till It's Over. But we've got to ask you, with all of the media surrounding a possible female running for president and Hillary Clinton, what do you think of Hillary's run for president or the idea?
I just pray that she runs because I think she'd be great. And we need it. It's time.
And you interviewed her daughter, Chelsea, and you asked her that very question. How did she answer that?
I think she skipped it, didn't she?
I think
she was dodging it a little bit.
My mother happy is what she said.
Right.
Yeah, she's getting as good as them.
She is so smart and so articulate. I loved having Chelsea on the show.
Yeah.
She was great.
And Hillary's really gaining steam right now. I mean, you got to think that she's going to make the decision.
Well, first of all, who's more qualified? I mean, we've never had anybody that qualified. I mean, forget about the fact that she was First Lady and knows those ropes. She was a senator, a great senator, and a terrific Secretary of State. I mean, those are wonderful qualifications.
Yep. And that's always the first. They always say, well, how are you qualified? Are you really ready for this? And I think she did it in the right way by being being First Lady and then moving into the Senate and then a Secretary of State post. So.
And she's very respected around the world with other world leaders, so I think she'd move into that slot very easily.
Yeah, and female leaders, I mean, we've seen presidents and prime ministers of other countries now as females.
We're so behind.
It really is.
It's time for us to take our place in the new century.
Well, let me ask you, Marlo, what do you think female leadership brings to the table, whether it's government or corporate or entertainment?
Well, first of all, it brings, well, you know, women and men think differently. We like to think we're equal, and we are, but we do think differently. And I think that we are more compassionate, and we listen. We listen much better than I think men do. Even my husband will admit that.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
What? A lot of people have been asking on social media, they want to know who has inspired you the most.
Well, probably my mother and father. You know, my dad just had such a love of work and such a perfectionist about his work. He always wanted to make it better for the audience. And my mom had such a relentless spirit. You know, she just always wanted to, you know, make the family better and keep us together. My dad traveled a lot. My mother would schlep us to Las Vegas and schlep us to wherever he was, and she kept us together. So I think they really are real role models for me.
Your father being Danny Thomas and being famous, was that different for you, or you just, that was normal to you?
Well, it was normal to me. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be until I went out on my own and became an actress. I was 18 years old, and I had my first big part in Gigi, and I was so excited. And not the musical, you'll be happy to know. And anyway, all the reviewers and all the interviewers compared me to my father. You know, will she be as good as Danny Thomas? Will she last as long? Is she as funny? And it really scared me. And I told my father that I wanted to change my name and to get away from all of this. And he said, run your own race, kid. You know, don't compare yourself to me or anybody else. You just wear those blinders and you run.
That says a lot about him.
That's what I have to do. And I realized then that, yeah, I'd be letting the family down if I changed my name. The Barrymores didn't change their name. Why should I change my name?
Yeah, you've done quite well the way it is. And I love the fact that you've given back so much to the charity that your father started, St. Jude's. I just love the story about how he started that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long story, but I won't do that. You don't have enough time. But the fact, he started it because he was very poor. He was on welfare as a kid, 10 children. They never went to the doctor, never saw a dentist. Kids in their neighborhood died of influenza and appendicitis and things. None of his family died, thankfully, but a lot of kids died. And he thought when he grew up, he wanted to do something. You know, he had a front row seat at the inequity of health care in this country. And that's what I love about Obama. He's really tried to change health care. But anyway, so my dad wanted to create a place that would not just make kids better, but would find out what made them sick. And so it's a research and a treatment center. And nobody pays. And so that means we have to raise about $900 million a year, which we do, all of us, and it's worth it.
Yeah. And I read when he was struggling, right, he was a struggling guy, he would pray, if you just let me be famous, I will...
You didn't say that.
If you let me be successful.
Give me a sign in life that I'm on the right path, because I was going to cost $50 to get out of a hospital. My father always said I was this bonus kid because I cost $50 and my sister cost $500 and my brother was born in Hollywood, he cost $5,000. So I was definitely the bargain kid in the family. Yes.
Well, Marlo, I just love that we can spend every Monday with you with Mondays with Marlo on your marlothomas.com. And I want to thank you for joining us. And her book, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, is out now. More details on the website later. We got Richard Roper's review, Tom Cruise's new sci-fi thriller.